Hello, Brian. How are
Hey
you?
Ben,
Thank you
doing
so
great.
much. Thank you very much for joining. It's much appreciated. Looking forward to another cool chat. I believe this is episode 44. I always forget to say that. Not that it's important. So, thank you very much. Do you want to start with a brief introduction about who you are and what you do, and we can kind of take it from there? Sound good?
Sure. My name's Brian
Fantastic.
Julius. First of all, Ben, I want to just thank you for having me on. I've been a
Of
big fan
course.
of this show for a long time,
Thank you.
and learned a lot from your interviews with different guests, and
Thank you.
so
Appreciate
I'm
that.
thrilled to be here today. Um, yeah, so I'm the Chief Content Officer for Enterprise DNA. We do all sorts of training for the Power Platform. Started out kind of Power BI, but we've expanded into the full Power Platform and supporting technologies. So R, Python, Denim, all sorts of supporting technologies. And so I started. I'm seeing a lot of familiar faces. This is great. Um, I started out
Yeah, everyone.
with
Thanks
a
for joining.
background in economics and worked for an economic consulting firm for a few years out of grad school, and then went into government. And so I've taken this kind of windy path of 30 years in government, starting
Wow.
in kind of what would have been now called data science.
Okay.
And it was, back then it was really kind of econometrics and statistics. But and then moved into management and kind of lost my touch with the data field for probably about 15 years. I was managing data people and projects, but wasn't really doing much of it on my own. And I missed it. And there was kind of a turning point a years ago where I just kind of said I need to get back to getting my hands dirty with the data and working
Nice.
on projects. And so I took a 4 level demotion to
Okay.
kind of get back to a small team and working hands on with projects. And that's when I one of the projects that I got at the time was a financial systems project, and we were working with Microsoft, and I was managing the project, and they suggested Dynamics and Power BI, and I'd never heard of either of them. And
Okay.
so I said, if I'm going to be managing this project, I should learn something about this. And so I just got on the internet and found Enterprise DNA as one of the first. Enterprise DNA, Kerbal, Guy in a Cube were kind of the big ones at the time.
Yeah.
And um, and so started just mainlining videos and just reading and learning, and then took over the Power BI implementation in the program I was in. And from there, I just got kind of hooked on it, and started answering questions on forum, the Enterprise DNA forum, and that got me to know Sam Mackay. And then a couple of years ago, Thanksgiving, he just called me up and said, "Hey, I'd like you to come work for us, managing our content effort." And
That's
so
awesome.
here I am.
That's quite cool. I always find that the non-linear paths are by far the most interesting ones. Kind of did a bit of this, worked there, found that interesting, and wound up to where you are now. It's very cool. I like it a lot.
I always
Um,
find it interesting, when you talk to people, you know, who are of a certain age and beyond, nobody generally studied this and kind of took a very straightforward path to it.
yeah,
A lot of people we find come from finance, from logistics, manufacturing, all over the
absolutely.
place, and
Yeah,
it's much more common to find people with kind of a real windy path than somebody who just said,
yeah,
I studied data, I've went straight into a data job, that's what I'm doing now. Those people are rare.
yeah. That's true. I think it has something to do with the fact that it's kind of attracts people who are kind of inquisitive. You kind of you have a natural instinct to kind of look at stuff and question it and wonder, and also a little bit, if I may say, a little bit nerdy for numbers, if that's okay to say that. But that's all how I always put it, a little bit nerdy. Well, I like this comment here, by the way. Data scientist before it was the world's sexiest job.
Well, it's
It's
funny too,
very
like
true.
people say, like, what are you, data scientist, data analyst? And it's kind of like I I kind of came up learning, a lot of statistics and econometrics, but I know really nothing about machine learning. So, data science seems now so focused on machine learning. So I'm kind of like a data analyst without the thing that data scientists do, but
Yeah.
kind of more on the statistical side. So I don't really know what I am at this
The
point.
titles are becoming very, very difficult to understand. I was speaking to someone just the other day about this, talking about, the newer job titles that are kind of emerging based on the newer tools that are entering the market. I mean, before we would standard to have a data scientist, a data analyst, and a data engineer, like those three things. But now there are variations on those, or like whatever you have your BI analyst, and it's just there's a multitude of new. It's just a kind of. I think the title doesn't really matter to be honest. It's just the job that you do.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
I mean, I would never even call myself close to a data engineer or data science. Not even close by any stretch of the imagination. And that's not what I'm saying, but simply that call me whatever you call me. I'm still going to do the same job.
And I think
Uh,
you're right. I think it really is, the one thing that's common is just people who love to dig in and solve problems.
yeah,
Just kind of
absolutely. Yeah.
understand how things work. I always remember when I was a kid, my parents would get mad because whatever any present I would get, I'd play with it for a little while and then I'd take it apart.
Yeah.
And so, everything I had was just in pieces. And I kind of feel like that's still what I do, which is, you get a problem, and the thing you do is you break it down and take it in parts and figure out the pieces and how they fit together. And for me, that's what's really interesting. Yeah,
This is
but see, I have I
OCD to
have
fix
more
things.
than a bit of that.
I think my thing when I was a kid was actually more like destroying things. I mean, my parents made me buy made me buy my own computer. I remember driving up to this local town with my dad and buying myself like a 286, if you remember those things. Um,
I started on an XT, 8.77 megahertz XT.
all right, fair enough. So, because they were sick of me destroying the computer, either like taking parts off it or formatting things, or because I wanted to learn what they did. So yeah, I think it's yeah, you're right. It's just kind of this natural instinct to kind of work out what's going on, or why it's going on, all that kind of stuff. I refer to my job title as a data monkey. Yeah, I can't argue with that, to be honest. Anyway, I find it funny that our first interaction, though, me and you, was on LinkedIn, and it had nothing to do with any of the things that we're talking about. Our first interaction, I'm pretty sure, was about Stream Deck. No?
I think it was. I think it
Yeah.
was.
I forget how it happened. It was maybe had you posted? Yeah, I think you'd posted about you had a Stream Deck, and I commented, and then it led to this long discussion of what you can do with the Stream Deck and all the different possibilities of the macros and the stuff, which is a
Well, I
very cool
remember I'd
thing.
gotten it for Christmas, and it was like, okay, this seems cool, but I don't really know what to do with it. So I posted that, and I got you came back, and Lars came back, and a number of other folks in the data community came back with just like fascinating stuff. George Mount was another one
Yeah, yeah,
who posted, and then my obsessiveness took over, and I went a mile deep, and I think I've now got 300 buttons programmed on this thing.
yeah, yeah. I think when I bought mine, I could have gone one size down because I didn't realize you can have buttons within buttons within buttons, and it's like it's just
Oh, so you bought the big?
yeah, it's so unnecessary. I was like, should I get the bigger one or the smaller one? And me being me, it's like, yeah, I get the bigger one. It's just completely overkill, but it's a lot of good fun. I tried a lot. I mean, I've got in mind a lot of like measures programmed and stuff, and to control my lights in my room, which is good fun. The one thing I can't get it to do very well is to do Vega Light when I'm using Denim, because the line breaks drive me crazy. I'm not very good at that, so I'm still learning how to do that properly. But yeah, it's
I haven't
tough.
tried it. I haven't tried it with Vega Light, but I do have a bunch of DAX structures that are kind of the common,
Yeah,
like the add column summarize, and I just hit a button and it fills that in for me. And
yeah.
yeah,
I think it's probably less needed now since I started using like Tablet Editor to do all the measures, like the time intelligence stuff, like same week last year, all that kind of stuff. I was just sick of writing them all the time. I was like, okay, press the button, press the button. Now you just got to do it once. But anyway, it's
You shouldn't
always
be using time intelligence measures anyway.
yeah, exactly. We don't care. It's about now. No, you can't look in the past, right? It's about what's happening
No,
now.
no. I mean, it was funny. I was just talking to somebody about this today. That I did a presentation at the last summit on offsets, and so the basically the extended date table that Melissa DeCorte built, and it's
Okay.
got whole rate sets of offsets for like everything, and
Okay.
you can basically just throw all your time intelligence measures out the window, your time intelligence functions.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty awesome. One second, I've been given some audio instructions here, so I'm trying to do that a little bit to see if that works. Yeah, offset. This is all this stuff coming. There's been some interesting stuff. What's this? What's this that's currently going on in Chicago? This Power BI conference, whatever it's called. I've seen lots of tweets and chat about new things coming and new DAX functionality and what have you. That should be quite cool. I'm not
I
sure.
saw something about the visual. I think it's I've been hearing rumors about this for a while that
Yeah.
it's like you're going to be able to just plain language DAX where it'll say like give me rolling average for the last 3 quarters, and um, it'll create the measure for you. I'm always skeptical of that
I'm
stuff.
very skeptical. I'm very skeptical. I don't trust it at all. I suppose at some point I'll have to trust it for sure. But for the time being, I'm like, yeah, we'll see how that works. Hey, if I have to write less DAX, I'm fine with that because it's one of those things that you have to constantly Google because my brain refuses to remember it. Like you know, like today I was thinking, okay, I need to write something for current week to date and stuff, and I just like, how do I do that again? I've forgotten, and then I'm googling it, and if I could just type that in and it just suddenly appears to me, I'm fine with that. Don't get me wrong. So we'll see how it goes.
So I see
Yeah.
somebody said offset instead of date table. No, no, no. Offset with date table, but then no time intelligence functions.
Okay. Okay. I'm sure there's a video about that. I want to watch it.
Indeed there is.
We can, if someone can find that video, feel free to post the link, and we're gonna watch it. Or I can at least watch it later. See, I love about these chats. There's always something to kind of click on and learn and watch afterwards. There you go. People are learning as well. Regarding your role, by the way, this your chief content officer. That sounds like a really interesting role. Can you speak a bit about that? What does it entail? Because it sounds quite cool.
It's like the coolest job ever. It really is. Like, I mean, basically, I'm responsible for managing the YouTube content that we provide. So we provide YouTube videos now 5 days a week, and then also course content for the platform. And the course content initially, when Enterprise DNA came about, it was all Sam McKay, and he did all the courses and all the YouTube videos.
Okay.
And then what he did is he expanded that out to what we call the Enterprise DNA expert team, and that's a group that through challenges, through work on the forum, has kind of shown a level of capability and expertise in Power BI, and so we started expanding the coursework out to that team, and then decided we really just wanted to go out in the community and find the best people on any particular topic. And so it's basically my job. I kind of think of myself as kind of a roaming baseball scout, that I'm just kind of out in the community trying to find, for all the different things that we do, who would be the best person out there to to present and teach on that. And so, I see Sue Bays here, and Sue just recently did a series for us on paginated reports, and it was a great series. And we gotten a lot of requests for paginated report content. And it's not something that we had anybody internally on the team who was expert in. So I went out and I knew Sue and knew she was really really expert in that, and she put a great series of courses together for us.
Yeah.
And so it's really that, it's kind of getting out in the community and
Nice.
building relationships and working with folks. Oscar Martinez Valera was another one who recently did a course on APIs for us that was great.
Very cool.
Um, and so
Big
yeah, so
topic.
I basically just kind of roam the earth looking for experts and great instructors, and then work with them to build great content. And then we just started something last week that I'm really excited about. Where basically we've just kind of got an open offer out there to anybody who
Saw this. Yeah.
is a content creator and who's done presentations to conferences or user groups. We're really active with user groups, and so if you've got a presentation to a user group, we're offering a free membership and a swag box, and then basically promotion on our platform for that content. It's not exclusive or anything. We're not trying to vacuum up, exclusive rights or anything. We're just trying to basically build partnerships and get more exposure for our subscribers to other great content that they haven't seen yet. So, anybody who's got something like that they want to partner with us on, hit me up, LinkedIn, on the Enterprise DNA site, my email, my contacts on LinkedIn. So we're getting some great response on that, and some
Nice.
folks that I hadn't interacted with prior, and picking up some terrific content. I see Rishi. Yes, I'm totally interested in that.
Very nice. See, straight away. There you
Yeah,
go. Putting the word out, get a response straight away. I like it. It's a
perfect.
great. It's a great idea. One of the I want to say a problem, but one of the things that the complexities of the amount of videos, general content that's out there is like where to find it. So if you
Right.
have this one place where it's kind of mutually beneficial, right? You get the videos you can host on the channel. People also get those videos seen, and also the users, the people who want to see these videos, have an easier place to find them, right? Because it's all just right there within like one kind of condensed area. Cool idea, like it.
That's exactly right. I think there's 200 plus user groups now, and
Yeah.
you look at it, and basically you've got incredible presentations happening every day. I mean, you
Yeah.
could fill your entire calendar with free, great presentations from around the world. And I think with COVID, it's changed things in the sense that many of those groups operated just locally initially. You'd have to be in person, and I don't think a lot
Yeah.
of them were recording their content. But then with the pandemic, everybody became global and online, and so there's this huge repository of content out there. 200 groups running. I mean, some of them, like Michael Ofusi's group, they run weekly. He
Yeah.
actually runs multiple sessions weekly, so they're generating
Wow.
they're generating 150 great presentations a year. I mean,
Wow.
so just keeping up with that is remarkably difficult. So,
Yeah.
we're kind of hoping to be kind of that clearinghouse. And, Sue brought up the bookmark feature. And yeah, so we've now we rewrote our whole platform.
Okay.
And you can now, with with the search feature, you can actually go into a video, bookmark a certain section, make a note, and then call that up in your search later on. So, if you've got all
That's cool.
this content kind of coordinated on one platform, and then you can access and search, different pieces however you like. So yeah, we're hoping that we end up building a lot of partnerships with that and discovering a lot of new content. And one of the things I really love is encouraging people to start providing content.
Yeah.
And so, there people, there's great content out there that people just haven't seen yet. And so, providing a way to get it seen. I do a monthly column called Power BI Things I Like, and it's just 5 or 6 things I saw that month that were maybe a little bit off the beaten path,
That's cool.
and just give the chance to give a shout out to people just doing great stuff that may not be getting seen.
Very nice. That's a great idea. It is very cool. And I was also speaking to, I think this is actually last week with Adam Saxon. I think we spoke about this after we went Of and we were talking about this people creating whatever form of content, be it blogs or videos or whatever. Sometimes there's this. I get the impression that there's this kind of this thought that perhaps people don't create it because they think that there's so much of it, and if there is so much content, how can my content be seen? What can I add? But I think that the fact is that you can always add something, because even if you express something in a slightly different way, even if you, I don't know, like tone of voice or speed of which you talk or the way you explain something, the idea that you're presenting can be exactly the same idea that someone else has done, but, people have the same ideas many times, but if you say something differently, it just helps someone understand. So also, again, having this place where people can see whatever video has been made through Enterprise DNA might also encourage people just to kind of start doing something as well, perhaps.
I hope it does. I really do, because I feel the same way. I mean, I find if somebody is passionate enough about something to make a video, that's something I want to watch. I want to see, what excites people. What do people choose? I mean, given the fact that you have the freedom to make a video about anything, why did you choose that topic? What is it about that topic that excites you? And so, I find something to learn in any piece of content that I watch or read.
Yeah. It's true, yeah. I'm going to bring up this by Johnny as well, just because I'm very, very vain and he agrees with me. So I'm just going to bring it up there so people can. That's the only reason. It's like, if you say you agree with me, then I'm going to bring the comment up on the screen. Why not? But yeah. Yeah, it's a cool idea, and I'm looking forward to see what comes from it. Basically, I'm sure. I like basically from what I'm seeing that you are. I would suggest maybe like the talent scout for Enterprise DNA, the chief content officer, talent scout, kind of scoping the world, seeing what's out there, seeing what you can find. Very nice.
Yeah. I think part of it's that, and part of it's just encouraging more people to make content. That I think there've been a number of times when I've seen somebody do something great in a challenge. We run a monthly data challenge, and our challenges are all full reports, and so it's a pretty hefty challenge, and we get some amazing reports back. And a lot of times what I tell people is, hey, if you just publish a video explaining how you did what you did, people are going to love that.
Yeah.
That some of the most popular content you see on LinkedIn is people just posting Power BI reports.
Yeah.
And
true. True.
There's a friend of mine who just posted, Balaji just posted a report for the first time yesterday and got 500 likes on it. I've been posting on LinkedIn every day for a year. I don't think I have 500 likes on a post.
No,
and he posted this great report, and that's the sort of thing that that makes tremendous content.
Yeah, for sure. I see sometimes, like, I forget who it was, Oscar posted something a couple of weeks ago, and it got like thousands of likes. And I'm like, it's like, how does this happen? Something just clicks and everybody.
It was the Denim
like
post.
it. Was the Denim post? That's probably how I know about it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was the Denim post. That just went crazy.
That just destroyed my feed for like a week. It really did.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Oh, I love it. It's true. Regarding the making of videos or whatever, actually in this case, definitely videos, I remember I was speaking to Ruth from Kerbal, and one of the things that she said really stuck with me, because people in the comments here kind of talking about, trying to create original content. And for me, it was always trying to create like something with no mistakes. What I really love about Ruth, and she said it herself, was like, just make the mistakes. Just when you're making a video. And if you watch Kerbal, she does it quite often. She's like, okay, do this. How to do that again? Oh, I've made a mistake and I'll correct it. And you really just see Ruth work, how she works, It's so that could be like, Ruth's kind of thing that's a bit different. Not on purpose, it's just that's how she makes videos. So I would say original content is just whatever you make and just do it in your own way. I was speaking to Jeff the other week, actually. He had some great ideas about making videos, which I won't reveal in case he ever does them. But I love how people just think, I could do it this way and that would be great. And I was like, yes, that would work. Just I don't know, whatever works for you. And also just making it fun a bit different. Sometimes I'll be like, okay, I'm a bit bored of doing it this way. I'm now going to do it this way. Why? Just because I want to, just because it pleases me, you know?
Yeah, yeah. No, I think you gotta have fun with it. It's funny on, on LinkedIn. It's the same thing. I do a lot of gifs and memes and mix pop culture into my. I try to make it substantive, but it's like we're here to have fun. If it's not fun, why are we doing it?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so I kind of feel like I always enjoy people whose content just shows some personality, and everybody kind of has that different style. And I think that's going back to your point about people having different perspectives on the subject matter. I think also just personality, that certain styles will resonate with certain people. And so I think even three people doing exactly the same topic are going to just resonate with different groups.
For sure. I've got a question I'm going to bring up because actually I want to know this as well. Are you on Twitter? Because I couldn't find you.
I'm not.
You're not on
Um,
Twitter. Okay.
I'm
Okay.
not.
Fair
I'm
enough.
not a big social media guy, and I find LinkedIn I really like. I like the community there, and I really decided that to kind of throw my energy into that. And it's just it kind of it absorbs as much time as you've got available, and so I Twitter would just be too much for me, I think.
Yeah. Spend day and night just sitting on social media platforms.
Yeah.
I found it really interesting when I started kind of posting about Power BI stuff. I created like Instagram and I created, of course, Twitter. I very rarely use Instagram, but if you look at Instagram for Power BI, seems to be very heavily used within like I think both Spanish and Portuguese, is really heavy Power BI for whatever reason I don't know, but there's most of the content I see for Power BI is Spanish and Portuguese. Don't know.
I had this really interesting conversation with Michael Olafusi a while back, and we were talking about the differences um, in kind of patterns regionally. And he was saying like in Africa, like WhatsApp
Yeah,
is really big. And he said you see a ton of traffic and a lot of conversation about Power BI. And it's not even an app I have on my phone. I didn't
yeah,
even know there was a major conversation, technical on that.
yeah,
And so, it was interesting to me. He was saying, some of the channels that we in the U.S. will heavily use, like Reddit. He said is not one that gets a lot of traction there. And
yeah.
Jeff's asking, gosh, I'm blanking.
This one.
Jeff, I will get that for you.
Um,
Um,
yeah. Hide the link in. I think I've made you admin so you can throw a link in, but you have to. We can do it afterwards, or give it to me. I can post it on Twitter or something. Yeah, I agree with Johnny though. By the way, Power BI Twitter is a lot of good fun. I got to say, I know everyone has their own preferred platform. Um, Power BI Twitter it's a lot of fun.
it's funny.
Um,
I read it.
yeah,
I read it, but I don't post.
yeah, fair enough. So, I think it's sort of a place where it has everything. I mean, because I've seen Reddit a couple of times for I've used it for Power BI, but I think I used Twitter before I was doing any Power BI posting, so I was kind of more used to it, and I was kind of like this more conversational flow to it. I think I would say more questions get answered on Twitter than they do on Reddit, for example. I see lots of Reddit questions that kind of just go, I'm not untouched. Every now and then someone get like a lot of answers, but I've never really seen anything on Twitter that's very like not replied to and doesn't get like at least
Mm,
a link to something or a sarcastic answer. It is Twitter, let's face it.
right.
Yeah. So it's worth checking out, but no, I understand it's pretty busy. I saw this comment from Johnny as well. As a data guy, and using the talent scout analogy, is there ever a temptation to use a money ball approach? Yeah, that could be quite cool. I like that idea.
It's interesting. I've talked to Sam a lot about this, about um, kind of analyzing like, all sorts of metrics on, videos and blog content. And to some extent we do that.
Okay.
It'd be kind of irresponsible if we didn't. But I also think you don't want to get too deep into that because it kind of keeps you in the present. That I think, like right now, what we're finding is that the content that we have on Power BI is much more popular than the content we have on Power Apps and Power Automate. But I don't think that's going to be true long term.
Yeah.
I really see that as a huge growth area. And so, we're actually focusing our next summit. We do these quarterly summits, and we're focusing the next summit largely on, the broader Power Platform, even though, I think as from the standpoint of today, um, it's not as popular as Power BI, but I think it's going to get there. And so we kind of do a little bit of both, a little bit of, the kind of in-depth analysis of what's popular now, but then also kind of looking out on the horizon, what's going to be popular. And I think Deneb is a perfect example of that it was just something that we saw and we loved. And, it didn't at the time have a ton of traction, but Greg Phillips, one of our experts, he fell in love with it right off the bat. And I said to Greg, I said, "Hey, would you be willing to do a course on it?" And he said, "Yeah, I'd love to." And so he put together a terrific course. I think the only kind of comprehensive Denim course out there. And it was one of those things that at the time it wasn't hugely popular, but then as you've seen it progress, and I think largely due to your promotion of it and Daniel's and Carrie's and kind of the early adopter true believers in Deneb, it's really grown tremendously. And
I
and
love
so
seeing. Sorry, please.
oh good no good
No, I love seeing these. You see more and more posts on LinkedIn with people creating a Denner visualization, or I've created my first Denner visualization, like it's a bar chart, and you can see the people adopting it. It's really cool. I'm very happy for that.
Yeah, and I love it because the thing Greg pointed out is it makes you look at visualization totally differently.
Yeah.
That you look at everything in terms of marks and layers. And so when you see a complex visual, what he says he now sees is he sees a bunch of simple marks and simple layers that can be put together into something complex.
Yeah.
And he's constantly hounding us for, hey, what's the toughest visualization challenge you've had? What's some weird visual that nobody's had to put together before? Because I think he's always looking to push himself, and kind of, and we've yet to stump him on anything.
That's awesome. But it makes you do that because okay, I've done this, I know how to do that, and how can I not just learn more, but I mean to copying other visuals is a very cool. I mean, I started by copying visuals from Kerry Kolosko, because I saw her
You're going to
work and I
copy.
was,
That's the right person to copy from.
right, exactly. I mean, my first attempts were, of course, absolutely atrocious. And I was like, you know what, I tried to copy. I did an awful job. I was like, let's just take it back like 15 steps and, go from the start. But, you do. And, okay, what can I possibly create? But also what it's done for me is, I'm not sure if this is a good idea or a bad idea. I posted on Twitter the other day that I've kind of accidentally started to learn R. So I'm not sure if I should continue down that
Oh,
path.
now you've hit my wheelhouse.
Oh, yeah, go for
Um,
it.
this is I I think my two favorite things about Power BI are the external toolbar, and so
Okay.
those folks who follow me on LinkedIn know I'm like addicted to external tools. I've got a 32 toolbar, in
Whoa.
Power BI, and it's kind of like I play like the Hunger Games every week to see like what's going to survive, what's going to get voted off the island,
That's class.
and so external tools are one thing, and the other thing I love the most is the Power BI R integration. Which I
Interesting.
just think is spectacular.
I honestly don't know a lot about it. Please feel to explain it because I've. What is it about that you like so much? It's.
Well, I mean, I mean, not to put too fine a point, but I kind of feel like the combination of those two tools is like the greatest analytical tool in the history of human civilization. I mean, and it's free. I mean,
Yeah.
that you take desktop and R Studio, there's nothing you can't do with that analytically. And the thing that's great is Power BI within Power Query has this thing I call the magic command, which is it's this data set command. And
Okay.
so what you can do is you can do all your data cleaning, and then you call this data set command in R, in the or in Power Query and in the R script. And what data set does is it refers to everything you've done prior in Power Query. So you can do 100 steps in Power Query, call data set, and then R takes over. Um, you can do
Okay.
then all your analytics in R, your sophisticated statistical, machine learning, forecasting, all that. And then you output it to a data frame, and then Power Query picks that data frame up at the end of the script and continues on its merry way. And so you basically have this automated analytics engine with 20,000 packages, out there for free that you can call right from Power Query with one word. It's it's
Wow.
it's incredible.
Okay. That sounds well. It sounds like I've got an extremely large amount to learn. So it should be it should be interesting if I keep it up. This is a comment. This is interesting. The only problem with our Python integration is the dependency on a personal gateway to refresh. So yeah, I can see, I suppose, the restriction there. Um, Not that it's not doesn't make it worth learning, but just good to know, I suppose. Um, but yeah, nonetheless, my art journey is literally in its infancy, as in learning how to do basic calculations. I think I've got a long way to go before I start to do anything of any use to anyone, to be honest.
I think you'd be surprised though, because I think R looks scary. You just see four windows of code, and it's not. R is actually incredibly simple.
Okay.
Because especially if you're a Power BI user, because you can skip 90% of the data cleaning stuff and just do it in Power Query, and
Okay.
then call that into R and kind of start right from the analytics portion. And the way it works basically is you can just Google your way through it. That every package, the nice thing about R is all the documentation is set up very consistently. And so every package has the same format of documentation. So you basically just figure out what command you want to run, what the parameters are. You go to the what's called the vignette, and it shows you all the parameters. You fill those in, and it's kind of like that old game Mad Libs, where you just filled in the blanks,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then you run it. And there's one part of it that's a little funky, in that if you're running some unusual stuff, it comes out in a strange format, and you've got to there's a technique I call extracting the hostages, that that R kind of holds the data in this kind of semi-structured text format, and you've got to kind of torque it around in Power Query and kind of send a team in to pull it out. But once you do
Okay.
that, R is really quite simple. I think
Okay.
if you picked up Denim that fast, it's like R will be no problem at all for you.
This one of the reasons, because I mean, about 8 months ago, whatever it was, yeah, a bit longer, 11 months ago, when I was just starting with Denim really, and I didn't understand any of it. Because now I kind of understand it pretty well, it's kind of given me the confidence that maybe it's something that I could do, because I don't really. I mean, I don't have coding background at all, so and some and DAX is not coding, I suppose. So then I was. I mean, the only thing I've done of any significance was a bit of bit of HTML back in the day, when I was about 16. But then I didn't do it for years. I discovered going out with friends and beer. So I just unfortunate. That's just the way my life took me. So yeah, kind of gonna be the encouragement that maybe I could kind of start doing it, and it's just fun to learn stuff, right? So Yeah, we shall see.
Yeah,
But
it's a rabbit hole. I mean, as I said, there's 20,000 packages, and there's literally nothing you can't do with it. So,
crazy.
whatever you there there was one day I was posting, and I was in the middle of the hard mode challenge for LinkedIn, where you have to post original content for 30 days, and I was working on a piece that um, I ran into a bug, and I couldn't debug it in time. So I was like, all right, let me just pull an R package off the shelf and try to do something. And I found one where you can automatically generate memes in R, you know, through through R code. And I was like, all right, that'll make a post for today.
That's class. That's a great idea. Also, Susan's saying here that the community for R is very helpful as well. And
Very, very helpful. Yeah.
so my experience thus far is that communities that are helpful are, I mean, of course, referring to Power BI here, are always a great benefit to your learning. So, okay, where the community for R, where is that? Is it LinkedIn? Is it Reddit? Is it on everywhere basically? Is there a main place that you kind of know
You
of
know,
it?
I mean, the interesting thing is there is there's a great community on Reddit. There is there's LinkedIn has a really robust community of R groups. I find actually there's so much written in the documentation that
Okay,
I don't know that I've ever actually had to ask a specific question. That you just Google it, and kind of
interesting.
everything is out there, really well structured. Yeah,
Okay,
Sue said Twitter as well.
as
There's
well.
there's a very
Okay,
very active community on Twitter.
I'll start adding
Um,
to my followers in that case. Yeah, I mean, when the documentation, I mean, this is what I found with Vega Lite. To be honest, I find that the Vega Lite documentation is very good. That I actually, it's the only documentation that I actively enjoy reading. So that's of course always a great help. So yeah, I'll dive into it, and I'll let you know how it develop in that
yeah,
particular
yeah. No, I'm
area.
anxious to hear. It's
Yeah.
I know Python is kind of the what the cool kids use these days, but for me, it's like R is just you can't
Well,
beat it.
I'll tell you what. I've never been one of the cool kids, so that's fine by that's fine by me.
That's a great thing about getting older. You don't care anymore.
Not for a long time. Actually, one of my colleagues was he's saying yeah he's getting into the Python. He's picking up really well, and I said yeah for me it's I'm going down more this R direction. So I mean either or you're learning something it's helpful to learn you can as long as that's it, as long as you can use it somewhere, because if you learn it and then you don't use it,
Yeah.
it's gone. Like my French. So it's just that for me that's important. And because I'm really kind of enjoying the visualization side at the moment, it made more sense to kind of follow that path, I thought, and to enjoy that, see how it goes. And
You
what's
know,
this?
there's a really fun thing. I don't know if you're familiar with Kavita Behara's her the weekly chart series on
I think
LinkedIn.
so.
It's fantastic. She does every week. She does an infographic on a different visual type, and it's one of my favorite things on LinkedIn.
Cool.
And what she'll do is like so this week she did stream charts, which is something I've
Okay.
never I've seen them, but I've never
Yeah.
used them before. Didn't know that much about them, and so what she does is present a kind of pro and con when you use them. When Jeff, it's Kavita Behara, and it's hashtag the weekly chart.
Okay.
Um, and I really encourage everybody to follow it. It is some of the best visualization information. And what I find is what I do is I try to do a weekly practice where I take
Mm.
something she's presented, either that main chart type or one of the variants she presents, and try to create it in either Denim or the
Good idea.
HTML CSS visual that I like so much that Pascal Kiefer has developed, or R or Zebra
Mm.
BI, or any of the visualization tools I really like.
Mm.
And so I looked this week for the stream charts before I came on today. I looked, and there's a great R package for stream charts, And so,
Oh, cool.
you can create stream charts with just like 3 lines of code. So each
Wow.
week I try to, kind of stretch myself a little bit with new visual types I've not played with. And it's a fun, that weekly chart community is a lot of fun.
Okay.
Really good discussions of pros and cons of different visuals, and just some interesting twists and turns that discussion takes.
That's awesome. That's a great tip. I'll definitely check that out because it's always, yeah. I think there's been maybe on Twitter for Power BI chat. There's been a lot of talking about the focusing on the visual side of reporting, and I think it's Jeff who said a few times to actually have visualization experts. You don't really see that often. We're talking before about job titles, like developer, Power BI developer, but actually, I think he makes a solid point about the need or the benefits of having people who are employed who are just experts on visualization of that field, which for me is a solid point, to be honest, because it's great to have the data, but if you're presenting it in a format or in any way that's not particularly useful, then it's just a waste of time, right? Because that's when you're creating reports, dashboards, it's the visual element that kind of is important.
Right. And what somebody told me once is you can create, you can write the greatest M code in the world, create a perfect star schema, and if your visuals suck, nobody's going to know any of the other work that you did. They're just going to say, this report doesn't interest me.
Yeah.
And so it really, you need to have all that stuff built well behind the scenes, but if you don't make the case visually up front, none of that other stuff matters.
Which is very reasonable because that's what they see, the end product. They see
Right.
basically pictures of data. So you can't read. I mean, it's about, it's great if people want to learn or choose to learn, but there's no expectation that they should learn because it's not their job, right? Their job is to take that data and make decisions based on the data that we give them. So, yeah, absolutely. It's very reasonable that if you create a wonderful report, as you say, with the star schema, the fantastic M, the superb DAX. That's not me who's doing the superb DAX though. It's a waste of time if it presents nothing, or it's just even if it's just ugly to look at,
Yeah.
because it's design is a hugely important element. So
And it's interesting, just kind of the diversity of experts and thought that I run into in my job. And, um, one of the people who's been hugely influential to me is Carlos Barboza. And, he's just, really inventive in his visualization. He's got this report called the meme report, which is like my favorite Power BI report because it's funny and it's really entertaining, but it's hugely educational. And it's brilliantly built. And so if you Google it, and he's got videos on it, it's posted on the Novi Pro portfolio site. And he turned me on to Yablonsky's Laws of UX. It's a thin book, but it really goes into all the science behind what makes for a good user experience. And you typically, when you see a great report, you kind of think, okay, that person's really creative and they've got a really good eye, and that may be true. But Yablonsky goes through 24 rules about scientifically what makes for a good UX, and in terms of how people process experience, and all the way down to how the human eye visualizes things. It's called Laws of UX, and I have it right here.
oh, that's cool. Look at that. That's helpful. The
Um,
laws of UX.
and it's a thin read. I don't want to say it's a quick read because it's really there's a lot to it. It's well written. It's an easy read, but um, it's not something you want to breeze through because it's really substantive. So Jeff, Laws of UX, and I
Awesome.
highly recommend it. Carlos was the one who recommended it to me, and it's a great one for your shelf.
Fantastic. I love
And it
that.
just kind of really goes into there's just so much more science behind it than I realized. I used to think it was just kind of there are creative people and not creative people, and it's not true.
Yeah. It's also something that, going back to what you said before about, when you when you start to create visualizations in a certain way, you think about it more, like for me, going back to the Denim example, now that I kind of use Vega Light, I put a lot more thought into what I can do things because because I can do a lot more. I have a lot more choices to make. Therefore, I want to make sure that I make the right choices. I'm not saying that I do make the right choices. Often I'll make the wrong choice, but that's like part of the learning curve, right? Yeah, where I'm coming
Yeah,
from.
yeah, and it's really, going back to the weekly chart discussion. It was it was really interesting because you know you talk about kind of right and wrong choices, and there are charts that I like. Like I used to like radar charts,
Okay.
and there was a discussion where um, one of the visualization experts just destroyed radar charts and just showed why radar charts you should never use a radar chart.
Okay.
That basically it's sensitive to all sorts of ordering that is unrelated to any conclusions about the data. And so, it's just interesting to learn kind of what, kind of have your views on what good and bad choices are change.
Yeah.
And it's part of what I love
Sure.
about the community is, every day I kind of learn things and my views on things change as,
Yeah.
people
Sure.
kind of convince you of things you didn't know before.
And there's so much discussion about, or just general opinions. Sometimes it's kind of a bit tongue in cheek, a bit of for a laugh about the choices of what visuals are bad and what visuals are good. There's very like black and white opinion. I still maintain that the one visual that doesn't get enough abuse is the gauge, because everyone's pie charts have a use. They do.
No, they don't.
Two categories. Alberto Cairo said it, so
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Alberto Cairo said, but never the gauge.
Yeah, the gauge is just. Although I will tell you that I was very anti gauge, and
All
then
right, here we go.
I just cut a video where in a table using Greg Deckler's Quick Measures Pro tool, you can create these very small multiple gauges that just fit in a column of a table and actually look great and really,
All right.
I think, show something useful. So yeah, I agree that like a card with just a big gauge in it doesn't do much, but in a column of a table, almost as an icon, I would challenge you to take a look. You may
Okay.
find it better than you think.
Okay. I'll rethink my strong opinion there. Um, Greg Deckler, he makes great videos. I really enjoy this stuff.
Oh, I love his stuff.
I think we were watching the same one today that he had
Yeah,
about the values, was it?
yeah, yeah. The
Yeah.
values provide no value.
Yeah, exactly. That was great. And his just general whole was the calculate, all this sort of thing. It's very, very, very cool. He's got a great approach.
My wife always knows I'm watching one of his videos because I'm laughing. She's she'll hear me, watching YouTube videos from,
Yeah.
downstairs all the time, and she knows if I'm laughing at a video, it's one of Greg's.
I loved when he was his channel on YouTube is called Microsoft Hates Greg, right?
Yeah,
And he was presenting something on Microsoft once, and he changed it to Microsoft Loves Greg just for that 45 minutes when he was presenting, which is a nice touch. But no, he's got some great stuff, Greg. But yes, I just in this conversation talking about the gauge, and we speak about our opinions always being challenged and stuff. So, um, the pie chart, the gauge, was it the ribbon chart? That's also
yep.
up there in the dis. How do you feel about ribbon charts? I'm curious now. Yeah.
I think they look cool, and I can't make heads or tails of them. Um, that I look
Okay.
at a ribbon chart, and I was just talking to somebody. I was just talking to one of the expert team members yesterday about it, that there's this great looking ribbon chart on a report we were looking at, and I was like, it's got like 8 or 9 ribbons, and I'm like, I can't tell what that is, that, and it seems to me that I heard somebody from yeah, right, a ribbons are bling, that it was somebody from Zebra BI, I think. No, I know what it was. It was from IBCS.
Okay.
Um, Talking about that your creativity should really be in your analysis, not in your visual choice. And I thought that was an interesting take. That they said so many bad decisions are made because people are just trying to create variety. That they're tired of using, bar charts and line charts and scatter charts and the charts that really provide great information. And so they try these variants just to mix things up, but they're not as good. There's a reason why those are the bedrock charts. And so, I thought that was an interesting perspective in terms of really kind of focus your creativity in the analysis. And
Yeah,
so
for sure.
that's
I
something
think I would be happy, I think, if by default some of those visualizations weren't there, you had to like add them. Like, I know that they are the ones that are provided, but I don't, because probably it's something that I've mentioned a few times, so I'm hesitant to repeat myself, but I will. People adopt Power BI having never used a BI tool. They've used Excel, and they're kind of met with this amazing enthusiasm, which is fantastic. But perhaps by having some options, it doesn't actually help the user. Kind of, I mean, it's always fun to experiment, but it's like either an overuse or just a use that just makes no sense whatsoever. Like the classic would be the fish tank. I know that's not standard, but it's a classic. I mean, when you first start using Power BI, what do? You kind of, more visualizations. I'll see what I can see, and then you have a fish tank, kind of like, can I put this in a P&L report somehow?
Well, it's funny you mentioned certain things shouldn't be available. That I've actually taken that to heart, and I have unpinned a bunch. Like, I have no pie charts on my report on my page anymore. I have no I don't have ribbon charts. I don't have donut charts, and I've unpinned those and I've replaced them with Denim, HTML, CSS viewer, Zebra BI cards. That I've got kind of a custom setup, and I did a video a couple of weeks ago on creating your perfect template, and so I always start Power BI from an external from a template that I have pinned to my external toolbar. Okay. And so it configures it exactly the way I want it, and it takes out all the visuals I don't like and puts in the ones I do.
Nice. One of the first things I did was probably a little bit excessive. I was made like admin for the organization, and one of the first, I didn't remove anything. I just added Denim, that everyone gets Denim as standard. I'm sure like maybe 2 people in the entire organization use it, but I also thought if I'm going to use it when I create reports, it might as well be there as standard, just to kind of make that easier, but just to kind of push them in that direction should they choose to.
Yeah, somebody just says, "Hey, what is this?" Clicks on it, and you never know if that's your next Denim superstar.
Yeah. And actually, someone in my team, she told me she created something from Denim, and I was so happy. It was like my constant talking and never shutting up about this thing has finally paid off, and someone did it. So that's always nice. So that's what I did.
So Jeff had a question about themes. Yeah, so Jeff, I am using themes, and we actually have on Enterprise DNA, we have a really outstanding themes editor, and so you can actually edit like any aspect of any default visual, and then we've kind of built some extensive themes and then use those in the startup template.
That's pretty cool. You said you had a colleague who also wanted challenges about Denim. So there you go. Can he recreate the aquarium visual using Denim? That can be his.
I'll throw that one at Greg.
Please do it. I would love to see that. If that is possible, that would be amazing. Truly. Love it. And that's the thing, right? It's not about creating something that's good and useful. It's about creating something because you can, just to test yourself, to push yourself in some kind of ridiculous direction, Yeah. Mate, it's been well over the 45 minutes, so I appreciate you keeping on talking. You said you had a bit more time, so I've pushed that a little bit.
You'll have to tell me when to stop. I talk to you about this stuff all day.
I could as well. Unfortunately, I think I'm the one who has to leave at this point. So I'll have to wind it up. It's been a lot of fun talking about all the things we've spoken about. So thank you so much for joining. And
really enjoyed it, Ben.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, sure. And people in the chat, thank you for asking all the questions. Jeff, thank you for posting all the links, by the way. It's much appreciated.
Yeah, really appreciate that.
It really helped. And I'm not back next week because I'm going to drive to Denmark for Power BI Next Step, and I could do on Wednesday, but I'll be tired, so I don't want to. So I'll be I'll be back in a couple of weeks. Thank you, everyone. It's been a lot of fun, and Brian, one more time, it's been a pleasure.
Thanks.
Take
Really
care.
enjoyed it.
Cheers. Bye bye.